So in today's video, we are going to fix a few things. The first thing we need to fix is our jumping. Now jumping no longer works. Now that we have put in a new ground, we need to go and fix that. The second thing we need to do, I don't think we're fixing anything, but I think we're going to be starting the spawning of the objects, so like the cactus. Well, at the moment, I think we only have a cactus in our scene. Let me just check. Yeah, so we only have the two cactus plants in our game right now, but probably later on I'll make some more and then we can add them in. But we'll program it so that it works, and that we'll just have to drag them into a drop down list. So yeah, today's video is going to be all about spawning in the obstacles that the dinosaur has to jump over, and then depending on how far we get with that, we will see if we can move on to implementing something else like the actual score of the game, but we probably won't be able to do that. So let's jump into the game and see where we are. So this is where we are. This is exactly where we left off in the previous video. I think we just finished our movement of our ground. Our ground currently moves from right to left. It keeps it moves, and then once it reaches a certain position, it kind of moves back to the original position. So it looks like the ground is continuously scrolling along the bottom of the floor. But we need to now go and do that for the obstacles. So let's go and do that. Also, I'm going to change our speed just because that looked quite fast, to be fair. Now, let's just check something. Our speed is... Where is our speed? What is this called? Move. Oh, that's wrong script. Okay, so in our move, okay, our speed is 10. Let's go and get rid of that, and then we can go and change it in our inspector over here. So I'm going to put this at 5 probably for now. Just see what that is like. Okay, that's fine for now. That's fine for testing, so we'll have to put that back as 5 because it doesn't save when you're currently in play. So the first thing we need to do is we need to, okay, let's fix our jumping, because we are no longer able to jump now that we have replaced a few things in our scene. And I believe that is because on our previous ground we have to check to see if we're grounded. So where is our dinosaur? So on our dinosaur, in our check here, before we while we press our mouse button down, which is our left button, we also have to check if we're grounded, and our grounded has a condition. So you have to be in contact with the ground, and the ground has to have a layer of ground layer on it. So we need to go and make sure that our ground has that layer, which it doesn't. You see it says default. So if we go and change that, yes, we want to change the children, which is these two. Once we change that to ground, we should now be able to jump. So here we can jump, but we need to change this because it jumps fine, but it takes way too long to come down. So let's go and increase the gravity. Let's try 2 and see what that's like. Might just have to keep trying it in gameplay mode and see what it's like. Okay, so that's a lot better. Maybe let's go and let's leave it as 2 for now, and then let's go and implement the obstacles and see if that's good enough to jump over and land before the next obstacle gets spawned. So let's go do that. We'll create an empty object, and this will be our spawner. And on the spawner game object, we will create a spawner script. Okay, so let's go and open that up. Edit script, and in here we are going to have an array of the different objects that we can spawn into the scene. Now there is 2 different ways we could do this. I have chosen to do it the easy way, just because it's a fairly simple game. There's no need to get complicated. But we are going to have, let's go and find our spawner. So our spawner is over here. We can go and let's go and reset it quickly. And then we'll move it to off the screen, and it also needs to be down here somewhere so that it looks like the obstacles are being spawned on the ground. We'll go and move it once we start spawning in the objects so that we can actually position them properly. But what I was saying is before, the 2 different ways are we can either make it complicated and start spawning in different obstacles. How do I say this? So we are going to have, at the moment we only have these two cactus, but later on I might or might not, depending on how I feel. I might make different obstacles, like have double cactus or maybe even triple cactus in one obstacle, because the smaller they are, it may obviously make them easier to jump over, and the wider or the more cactus you have in one obstacle, the harder it is because you have to jump over like a bigger space, if that makes sense. So when we go and spawn these into the game, we can either have them just spawn randomly, like straight out of an array, or we can give them a spawn chance, so that will make the harder cactus, the ones with more in them, so like the 2 or the 3 cactus obstacles, make those less frequent. But that is the more complicated way, so I think we'll stick to the simpler way, and we will just pick a object out of the array and spawn it. Because like I said, this game is supposed to only take about a few episodes, so we're going to do that. There's no need to get complicated. So let's go and create an array of objects, and that will house all of our prefabs that we're going to instantiate into the scene. So these are our cactus. We've got one. Oh, so these are exactly the same. The only difference is one has got, let's go and bring these in. So I forgot to do this. I forgot to change the scale of all of these. Okay, so because these are tiny, I made them, I think they were about 22 by 24 pixels wide or something like that when making them. But we need to change that. So we'll leave it how it is for now, and then we'll just drag and drop the new images once I've made them later. I'll make them probably like 10 times the size, so that when we enlarge it like we did with the dinosaur, it doesn't look blurry like that, because that kind of looks terrible. So let's go and create a an array of game objects. So game, what am I doing? Serialized field, game object, and this is going to be our yeah, we'll just call it objects. No, we're not. Let's call it yeah, let's just call it objects. I don't know if that's fine for now. Okay, so I don't think we need our start method. Actually, yeah, we'll keep our start method because I think we'll use that. And then what we want to do is we want to have a random minimum value and a random maximum value, and that should calculate the gap between them. So we always want there to be a minimum distance between the two objects that are spawning, because obviously you want to still be able to jump over them. If they're too close to each other, you won't be able to jump over them, and then it'll just end the game early, which is not really your fault, it's the game's fault. So we don't want that. We'll have a minimum value of probably a second or so in between each each obstacle. If it's too small or if it's too big, we can go and change it later. So let's create a public int. Actually, let's make it private, because I don't think we're going to be accessing it from anywhere else other than the script. Private int minimum. What are we going to say? Minimum. What can we call this? Min. Can probably be anything. Let's just go minimum wait time. We'll set that equal to 1 for now, and then the other one is going to be private int max wait time, and this will just make it 2. So the minimum wait time between each object being spawned is 1 second, and the maximum wait time is going to be 2 seconds. So, and also it's going to be random between these two, so it's going to be anywhere between 1 to 2 seconds between the two objects that get spawned into the scene, hopefully. So let's save that. And then what do we have to do? Okay, so we need to create a method that's called spawn. Private void spawn. And this method is going to be responsible for spawning our obstacle. Okay, so here we can go and say, what are we going to do? Let's create a random number. So in here, let's go and say var random object is going to be equal to random dot range, and it's going to be from 0 to the length of objects. So objects dot length, no, objects dot length. So that's going to give us a random value between 0 and how many objects are in our array. In this case, it's going to be 2. So it's going to be 0, 1, 0 and 1. Yeah, because it starts at 0 and goes to 1, because that's how arrays work. They start at 0, which is weird. But yeah, because we only have 2 cactus in our, well, eventually let's go and drag them in now so we can see. So our spawner here will have 2. So let's go set that to 2. Now we can drag them in. So element 1, element 0 is going to be our first cactus. That one doesn't have the ground. Why can't you drag? Okay, because that's a picture. So we need to create a game, what's called a prefab out of this. So I'm going to drag these into here, and then we'll create a prefab folder, which I don't believe we have. No, we don't. So let's create a folder. This is going to be prefabs, and then in here we'll house all of our prefabs. So these are prefabs, so we can go and delete those now. And on our spawner, we can go and drag the, where's our spawner? On our spawner, we can drag these in here now. Okay, so that's 0, and that's going to be 1. Okay, so it's going to pick a number between 0 and 1, and whichever one it picks, it's going to spawn the game object, which corresponds to that index. So that's fine. Now we need to go and spawn that object. Okay, so here let's go and say game object. Here we can say obstacle is going to be equal to instance, and this is going to be objects, and then at the random object index dot that should be it, I think. So let's go and spawn that. So that's going to pick, what's this saying? Unnecessary assignment value to obstacle. Okay, maybe we don't need it. Let's just go and try that. So let's go instantiate the prefab or we'll just go instantiate it for now. And then let's go and change the position to match the position of our spawner. So we can go and say, actually, we need to bring that back. Let's go and bring it back and leave it like that. And then underneath this, we can go and say obstacle dot transform dot position is going to be equal to transform dot position. So that's going to assign the current position of wherever the script is attached to, which is our spawner game object, which is over here. So whenever something gets instantiated from that script, it's going to instantiate them into this position over here. Let's go move it up a little bit, just so we'll test it out and see. So in our start method, we need to go and call, I think it's invoke, and then we need to call name of, and it's going to be called spawn. Okay, and then I think we need to give it the time. Okay, so this is going to be a random value between our minimum wait time and a maximum wait time, so we get that proper gap between each obstacle. So let's go and create another var random gap. Let's just call it gap. Random gap is equal to random dot range, and then we'll give it the minimum wait time and the maximum wait time. Okay, so I'm actually just going to copy this and then just paste it straight in here. That way we don't have to create a variable every time we call this method. Okay, so that's fine. So now let's just go and test this and see what actually happens. If something actually does happen, hopefully it does. So let's go press play and hope for the best. So you won't see them move because, okay, so it is being spawned. So there's our cactus, and let's go and change the size of it on our prefab. So let's open up our prefab, just change the scale to about 5 by 5. So, I mean, I don't know what that's going to be like, but let's go and change it to 5 by 5 for our other one. Save that. Okay, so if we go back to our main game scene and play it again, we should be able to see them now. Okay, so there's our first one. It's not a bad size, actually. Actually, could be bigger. But we also need to make sure that it is in front of our ground. So let's go to our cactus, our prefab, and then we can change the order in layer to 1. And then let's do to cactus as well, make that also 1. And that should be in front of our ground, hopefully. Let's test that out. Where do we go? So back to our scene. Okay, so it is in front of our ground, so that's fine. Okay, so now what we want to do, because we need to have them constantly spawning into the scene, we need to call our method again. So we can simply copy, or not cut it, let's go put it back, copy that line of code and paste it straight after we've positioned it. So that should be fine. So now that should keep like calling the spawn method over and over again. So we can save that and then let's just test it out. So you will not see, well, you might see them spawn on top of each other, but they're not going to be moving and they're all going to be spawning in the exact same place. So you can see that they spawn right on top of each other constantly. So this is just going to go on and on until we actually tell it to stop, which we're not going to do in this episode. So what we want to do now is we need to go and add some movement onto them so that it matches the movement of the ground, and you can see them move or come in from the right hand side of the screen and move across to the left. And then eventually we'll add in a collider or just something simple on the side, so when they interact or when it collides with it, it just goes and destroys it out of the scene. So let's go and do that. So on our prefab, we will have to attach a script onto our cactus. So we can add a obstacle script. Obstacle. And this is going to be a new script. And then this should be a simple script. It should only really have 1 line of code or 1 line extra that we need to write. So let's go and edit that. So we can get rid of our start method because we don't need that. We only need our update method. And in here, we can go and say transform.position is going to be equal to, not equal, going to be plus equal because we want to add the movement to it every frame. So plus equals vector 3.left because we want to move it from the right hand side of the screen to the left. So it's going to be moving left in the left direction. And then we want to times that by time dot delta time, and that should move it from right to left. So we need to go and add that onto our second cactus as well. So this is the first one, let's add it onto our second one. So add that onto there and that should be fine. So now let's go and test it out and see what it's like. So we should see our cactus move, okay, so there it is. So they are moving, but you can see that it's not matching the speed of the ground. So that should be a simple fix. Actually, maybe not. Or I mean, yeah, it should be. But we're going to have to create another script for this. So let's go to our scripts folder. Actually, let's just drag our obstacles into there and our spawner into our scripts folder. Wait for that to compile. Okay, so here we need to create another script, and this is just going to be a global script that we can access from anywhere. So we'll call this global You can call it whatever you want, but I like to call it global because it lets you, I mean, it makes sense. You can globally access it from anywhere. So let's go and edit this. So let's double click on that and I'll open that up. So we're not going to need any methods in here. This is just going to be a script to house our like integers and floats and everything that we need to access from different classes. So and it's going to be static because there's only going to be one instance of it in the entire game. So here we can go and say public. It's going to be public so we can access it as well. Public static int game speed is going to be equal to, I believe we had it in our dinosaur. No, sorry, I move left here. Speed. So let's just cut this out because we no longer need it in there because we only want one instance of game speed. So game speed, and that is going to be equal to, I think we set it to 5. So we'll set it to 5 for now. We'll save that. And then I'll move left script and our move obstacle script are exactly pretty much the exact same. So let's go, we'll do this in our move left. Let's go and fix this. So this now needs to be, it needs to be replaced with global dot game speed. So that should be fine. But now I don't really think we need our obstacle script. So let's test this out on our prefabs that we just created, our cactuses. Let's go and open them up and let's go remove this component, not edit it, sorry, my mistake. If we go and remove it, actually let's select both of these. So let's go and remove it, remove component, and then we can go and add another component, and this is just going to be our move left because we want them to move at the same speed as the game speed so that it matches the ground moving, because obviously you don't want the ground to be moving faster than the obstacles on the ground. I'll just look stupid. So let's go and test that out and see what that looks like. So now we should have the, yeah, so there you go. They match the speed of our, what's it called, of the ground. So you can see if we jump over them, it kind of works. So that's fine. Now, the next thing we need to do in the next episode is increase the speed of the game over time. So we don't want it to constantly be the same speed because, I mean, you can just go on forever and ever. So we want the game to get faster and faster. Not fast, but like we want it to start off at this pace probably, and then not like slowly build up and get faster and faster over time, which will make it more challenging. So as you can see now, the dinosaur can go through our obstacles, which is not what we want. In the next episode, we will fix that and then we will add some colliders onto them so that we can also figure out if you've collided with them, and then we have to end the game. So yeah, in tomorrow's episode, we will add the colliders onto the obstacles. Then we will also, I completely forgot what I just said we were going to do. Oh, we also need to destroy the objects out of this scene once they've passed the left-hand side of the screen, because we don't want them to just carry on moving in the scene. That'll slow it down. But yeah, that's pretty much it for today. So thanks for watching. If you made this far, if you haven't done already, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel because it does help a lot. And we're building this channel slowly and slowly. So almost at 200 subscribers, which is quite good, to be honest. But yeah, that's pretty much it for today. So thanks for watching again, and I'll see you guys in tomorrow's episode where we hopefully will finish it. We never know. We might have to have another one. But thanks again. I'll see you guys next time.